Are you in the mood for something healing? How about the uplifting new play, The Art of Care? It celebrates how we care for and are cared for by others. Exactly the kind of show I need in my life this time of year. Mosaic Theater presents The Art of Care, October 31st through November 24th at the Atlas Performing Arts Center. Get tickets at mosaictheater.org and come celebrate our shared humanity. October was a pretty crazy month in DC. In fact, there were so many stories that we couldn't get to all of them. So today on CityCast DC, we're recapping the wildest stories you missed, from the poop memorial on the mall to Metro's latest big problem. Oh, and also big news, we're officially launching our end-of-the-year awards project, the CityCast 6, presented by Christopher Nace and the trial lawyers at Paulson and Nace. We'll be picking 6 individuals who have transformed DC this year, and we want your input. So check out the show description for more information on how to vote. Today's Tuesday, October 29th. I'm Bridget Todd, and here's what DC is talking about. Priyanka, Julia, welcome. I am so excited to chat.
Same here. Yeah.
So for any first-time listeners just joining us, most days we generally will do a deep dive covering one topic with one guest, all that jazz. But today, we are covering 8 topics, zooming through them at 3 minutes each.
Yeah, we have so much to get through. The last 2 times we've done this has been really fun. I also feel like I'm out of breath at the end, so here we go. I'm ready.
Great way to get a cardio workout in, am I right?
Yeah, truly.
Speaking of workouts, we're using an actual workout timer, so you might hear some timer sounds, some beeps, all of that.
True. Yes, good point. Should I get it started?
Kick us off.
All right.
Let's go.
Okay, so our first story has to be, of course, the Washington Post. On Friday, they announced that they will no longer be endorsing presidential candidates. That was Friday, so 11 days before the election. And as you'd expect, this created an immediate outcry. First of all, I got a bunch of texts from a bunch of friends. I don't know if the two of you had this.
If you're the friend in media, you were the one who got the text being like, what is going on? Please explain this to us noobs.
Yeah. How do you feel about it? How are journalists feeling about it? Like, people wanted the whole lowdown. And I mean, the response was not positive. 2 people at the Washington Post have already quit, an opinion editor and a columnist. There was an editorial, like an opinion piece that came out signed by 19 opinion writers at the Post, formally and very publicly rebuking the Washington Post decision. Apparently, this came straight from Jeff Bezos, the owner, obviously, as people know, also billionaire, owner of Amazon. Yeah, he apparently said that they were not going to endorse presidential candidates this year or any years going forward. But obviously, this year it's coming so late in the race. There was already a endorsement of Kamala Harris written up and ready to go that he pulled the plug on. And as a result, they've also been losing subscribers. Over 1,000 readers. I read some reports that said 2,000 people in the first 24 hours have canceled their subscriptions to the Washington Post over this. It's an institution that has been financially struggling over the past few years. There have been several rounds of layoffs in the last 2 years. So not really a business decision that they can afford. What were your thoughts when you saw this?
More important context is that the Post has been endorsing presidential candidates since, I think, the Carter administration. So this is a pretty big thing to decide not to do that. Also, the timing is pretty suspect to me, only a few days out from a big election, a pretty hotly contested election at that. Jeff Bezos is a billionaire who owns One Medical and Amazon and the Post. And Trump has been pretty explicit lately about his plans to make life difficult for people who oppose him now. And I think that when you run companies that have cushy, big, important government contracts, like Bezos does, it becomes pretty clear what's going on here and why Bezos would make this move.
Interesting take, Julia.
Yeah, I mean, so one other thing to note is that the LA Times also did this. The LA Times also said that they were not going to endorse a presidential candidate. And I don't know, this is a weird trade-off in news where, you need the money, so you get funded by a billionaire who, thinks it's going to be fine, and then it ends up messing with editorial and opinion decisions. That seems fishy at best to me.
Round
So this is another national story that also has a local focus, which is the poop statue. So a statue dedicated to the insurrection on January 6th was unveiled in front of the Capitol last week. It is literally a bronze pile of poop sitting on top of a replica of Nancy Pelosi's desk with a plaque reading, "This memorial honors the brave men and women who broke into the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021 to loot, urinate, and defecate throughout those hallowed halls in order to overturn the election." And in case you forgot, this actually did happen. Rioters did actually leave poop in the Capitol on January 6th.
Did they really? I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They were up to all kinds of debauchery in there.
Great.
It's funny you say that, Julia, because it actually became a moment of contention for one of the people accused of being part of J6. A guy named Derek Jancart actually referenced this during a court hearing in an attempt to avoid jail time. He said, "I didn't go into the Capitol with the intention of pooping on anybody's desk," even though he had been specifically accused of wanting to poop on Pelosi's desk.
Did they do what they have to do at the vet when they like swab your animal's poop to make sure that there's like nothing? Did they like DNA match the poop swab on Pelosi's desk with the guy? Was that evidence used in court? I would pay to see that.
City
so
Cast
hard.
DC asking the important questions.
Truly, truly.
I thought this poop statue memorial thing was just so funny because it's so like just classic DC to have something this satirical on such a like public and like, yeah, hallowed platform. You know, it's like literally right outside the Capitol.
Yeah, this feels like a Banksy art installation to me almost, you know?
Yeah.
Well, another thing that makes it feel very classic DC to me is that whoever put it there actually got permission. They sought official permission, so it's not like a rogue statue.
Like from the National Park Service?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Rule breaking, but only like within some of the limits of rule breaking. Treading the
Right.
line.
Yeah. And then, of course, there was also an update this weekend where the memorial was like vandalized in part. So the Nancy Pelosi plaque, like that says that this is Nancy Pelosi's desk, has been taken, and bits of the other plaque have also been broken off.
Has anyone taken the metal poop thing?
No, the poop stands.
Okay.
Poop stands.
The poop stands alone.
Something else that I found interesting about this story is that they apparently have a guard that is specifically meant to be guarding this statue, but he declined to say what happened with this vandalism. So, like, the mystery still stands.
The mystery
Can you
continues.
imagine if this cop is the one who took that? Oh my God, I'd die.
Ooh, that would be juicy.
Round 3.
Okay, so I know on the show we talk a lot about WMATA and Metro and what they're doing. Do y'all ride the bus, like, at all, anywhere, using
I
Metro
do
bus?
actually. I do
You do?
actually ride the bus quite a bit.
Okay, so I'm not a huge bus rider, but there's a stat here that Metro dropped that I found fascinating to me, which was that 70% of Metro bus riders don't pay a fare.
70%?
70%. Apparently, before the pandemic, Metro said that the rate was about 17%. So something happened in between the pandemic and now where people are just like not paying the fare. And this is at a time when like people are trying to figure out like, should Metro bus be free? Should we like figure out ways to get people to pay for stuff? Like, all these arguments are happening in real time. You might remember that DC tried to make Metro bus free in the DC jurisdiction, and then that got nuked by Muriel Bowser. So, you know, can't have nice things, can't have free buses.
Okay,
So-
to be fair, also budgets are hard. Like,
We agree.
Yeah, but yeah, continue.
Randy Clark, who's the Metro GM, is looking into replacing the pay systems on the buses. So I don't know how often you guys use a bus, but typically there's like a cash slot or a coin slot and then like a tap to pay option. Apparently, every train station, you might know now, has like the non-jumpable gates. Randy Clark's trying to figure out if there's a way to do that for the Metro buses. So like having a pay system in the back of the bus so people can board the back of the bus too, so it doesn't, you know, slow people down.
I have a question. This might be a stupid question. Are people just getting on the bus, not paying, and like walking past the driver and being like, yeah, I'm not
Yes.
paying and I'm sitting down? Okay, I wanted to make sure I had this right.
And bus drivers are mixed on this. Like some of them are like, you know what, like I really don't like it. Like obviously, like you paying for the bus helps to pay my salary. At the same time, if you try to argue with people about not paying, it can lead to altercations and people can get hurt. So bus drivers are kind of mixed on the like, do they, don't they pay thing. The other thing about this is this comes at a time when currently Metro's got a formula that's been in place for 25 years. No one really likes it. Basically, the district, Maryland, and Nova pay Metro based in part on how many people use the system. Basically, the more riders that go on board, the more each government pays. Under the new model that they are proposing, contributions from each jurisdiction are going to be reduced based on the amount that paying riders contribute. So like if you've got a ton of people who are using this, like Metro's going to help you out. And they're basically like, you're using our service. This is a good thing, which is kind of cool.
And you're actually paying for it, I think is the
and you're
key
actually
part.
paying for it. Right.
Yeah.
And so that is a big thing that they're trying to talk about. This, might get under review in November. So as early as next week. So this is a big deal.
Yeah.
And they need to track the data correctly for it.
Okay, so another big DC specific story. You guys know Ward 7 council member Vince Gray. He was also the former mayor from 2011, 2015. He's 81 years old, and that age and, health things that come up as you age have been part of his story, have had him in the news a few times over the last few years. As of this week, his health situation seems to have deteriorated pretty significantly to the extent that a judge ordered a guardian and conservator to oversee his interests last Wednesday. And then on Thursday, Gray issued a public statement saying that he is not going to be voting on any issues for the remainder of his term. So
Holy smokes.
Yeah, at that time it was 68 days. So now it's like 61 days, something like that. He's not going to be voting anymore because of early onset age-related dementia, is what he said. Basically, the way that the statement put it was that I do not want to cast a vote on an issue which I may not be able to fully consider. The story beneath the headlines seems a little bit darker than you get on the surface. The reason that a judge ended up ordering him a guardian and conservator was because his two children asked for it. They petitioned the court saying that his wife, whose name is Dawn Cum, she is 25 years younger than him, and the children say that she has been engaging in fraud and also kept them from seeing their father. These are full-grown adults, but I'm just, referring to them as children for the sake of the story. But these children argue that she concealed the extent of his health troubles and exploited his illness for her own monetary gain. They say that she liquidated some of his assets to buy extravagant vacations and luxury clothes and things like that. They also say that he has had at least 4 strokes since November 2021, which was
God.
When he had that stroke in 2021, everyone knew about it, and there were council discussions about this and stuff like that. But the 4 strokes since haven't really been discussed publicly. And the children say that he is now nearly fully paralyzed and extremely fragile. All of this was not super public up until now. So really, really sad story. Vince Gray is not running for re-election. His term ends this December. And then in January, a new Ward 7 council member will be sworn into office. But just a really, really sad end for a politician who's been in the DC council and just in the DC public eye for a really, really long time.
Yeah, this is something I unfortunately know a little bit about from personal experience. I think his kids are doing absolutely the right thing. I think people have a sense of what it means to be a guardian or try to get somebody a conservatorship. It is very difficult. You need medical, you need someone's doctor to weigh in, teams of doctors. You go before a judge. So it's not something they do willy-nilly. You need a lot of proof and it takes a long time. And once you're a conservator, you have to demonstrate to the court that you're making good financial decisions for the person that you're helping care for. And so it's not I have a hard time believing his kids are trying to pull a scam when they have to really have meticulous demonstration from both medical professionals and judges and financial documents and disclosures.
All right. So if you ever wanted to run for ANC, that's Advisory Neighborhood Commission, apparently your time is now, because there's 345 ANC seats, but according to DC election officials, 54 of them have no candidate running on the ballot. That's 16% of ANCs not having a listed person there, which is wild.
Oh my God. Julia's just up here dropping the crazy stats today.
I love a stat, baby. Stat girl, stat nerd is here. But yeah, basically your Advisory Neighborhood Commission, for people who don't know, are the people that at a very hyper local level, so based on a certain street or certain area of the city, they help the government coordinate with things like public transportation. So think the Connecticut Avenue bike lane stuff, general zoning questions, comments, concerns, liquor license things, all sorts of very hyper local things that affect you on an everyday basis. They get elected every 2 years on the even year cycle. So we're on an even year cycle. So that's why they're getting elected now. But a bunch of these are empty, which means if you wanted to write yourself in, You could hypothetically win with 4 total votes.
Wow.
If your ballot's empty. I'm serious. It's wild.
It's wild. I think part of why this position is like why they're having trouble getting people to sign up for this is because it's also a volunteer position. You do not get paid. And it's a lot of work. Like
It is. Like
these meetings can go hours long. I'm on a few newsletters written by ANSIs, and they talk about like literally 3 to 4 hour long meetings about neighborhood issues.
And part of it is like there are these monthly meetings where these votes are taken. So they're very serious. And there's a lot of time you spend talking with your neighbors and other DC agencies. And sometimes like you have to testify at DC council committee hearings for like an unpaid position. Also getting yelled at by your neighbors, I feel like is not a fun time if you're a volunteer, right? So like mixed bag here. Like you're doing good for your community, but also like at what cost? It's really hard. So
I looked into running for ANC many years ago, and I found exactly that. I was like, oh, this is actually a lot of work that I am not equipped to do and don't actually want to do.
Yeah, no, it's super difficult. But yeah, if you or a friend you know live in a jurisdiction where no one is on your ANC ballot, if you're voting in this election, which you should be, it is in a little section. It has the number and the code for it, and it'll have a name for that specific section, or it'll just be write-in because no one is nominated. You could nominate yourself and win with like 5 votes.
And help your community. I know we just went on and on about how hard this is, but ANCs are really, really important to the way that our city functions. So yeah, it's a way to give back.
Oh, someone out there should be running. It's just not me. So I went to school in Virginia, and the trip of the year was the trip to Luray Caverns. It was the one trip you absolutely did not want to miss. And in fact, the school would like mildly threaten us into good behavior using that trip to Luray Caverns as a reward. And I distinctly recall a teacher telling me that if I got one more detention, I wouldn't be going to Luray Caverns. And guess what? I did not get another detention because I was not about to miss that trip. I have continued to go to Luray Caverns every year as an adult, and I'm happy to report it still delights. Luray Caverns has so many jaw-dropping marvels, you truly have to see it to believe it. And make sure you look out for my personal favorite, Dream Lake. Plan the perfect holiday adventure your whole family will love at LurayCaverns.com.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. I want to take a moment to shout out my cat, Pistachio. You are so good. Thank you for always crawling onto my lap and purring whenever I'm stressed. This time of year, I am thinking a lot about gratitude. And while we might always remember to thank our loved ones or our pets, there's one person we often forget to thank: ourselves. And one way to make space for you and your feelings is through therapy, because sometimes cuddling your pet isn't enough. You need to talk it out. And therapy can help you learn to set boundaries, and it empowers you to be the best version of yourself. If you've been thinking about giving therapy a try, one fast way to get connected with a therapist is with BetterHelp. It's entirely online, so it's flexible for your schedule, and all it takes to get started is filling out a quick questionnaire that pairs you with a therapist who fits your needs. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/citycast today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/citycast.
Okay, next topic is the 11th Street Bridge Park. So the 11th Street Bridge is like a bridge that doesn't really work, isn't really used anymore. It's between Navy Yard and Anacostia. They replaced this bridge a while back, and so now the old one is getting used to they're making it into a park. The design sounds really cool. We've done a full episode on this with the people behind it. It's going to be DC's first elevated park. It's going to have outdoor performance spaces, playgrounds, urban agriculture. There's going to be an environmental education center, mostly like to teach kids about river systems. There's going to be a bunch of public art that tells the history of the area. And then you'd also be able to rent or just launch your kayak or canoe from the park. So really, really cool space. The thing that's hard is that obviously building all of this out is expensive. In fact, the project is expected to cost $92 million.
Woo!
Not something you can raise easily. And so the exciting news this month was that they just got a grant, their biggest grant yet, from the Department of the Interior Land and Water Conservation Fund. It's a $15 million grant, which officially gets them to their funding goal. And so the park's going to happen. Really exciting. The episode that we did with them was over a year ago, where they were just like talking about what this project was meant to be. And so obviously it's taken a long time for it to fully get off the ground. Construction is supposed to start this coming May 2025, and they expect construction to complete sometime in the fall of 2027. I'm really psyched about this. I love the High Line in New York, and this sounds like it's going to be kind of that kind of vibe, but potentially bigger. And I love the idea of a bunch of different playgrounds on a bridge. What do you guys think?
I was just thinking about the High Line in New York, which I also love. And I think the High Line is great, and I distinctly recall when they built it and when it opened and what a big deal it was for the city. But I also like the idea that this could be like a bigger elevated park, protect DC's name as like the best place for parks in the country. Like, aren't we like consistently ranked like the #1 park city nationwide?
Yeah, shout out to Trust for Public Lands. They always give us that love.
They do. Also, this is a way to stick it to New York, which I think is like a hilarious thing that like DC has like big brother city syndrome, where like we think of New York and Philly as like bigger things, and like now we get our own little thing and we can say, you know what, we don't need that anymore. Okay, so as you two might know, I'm an ice hockey player. Skating is my favorite thing, and now there are more opportunities for me to teach you all how to skate because there's going to be a new rink in downtown DC.
Very exciting.
Yes, I am so hyped for this. This is going to be at DC's National Building Museum. It's going to be there for the holiday season, and it's going to be there from December 16th through January 4th. Apparently, this is a synthetic ice rink, so the ones that I typically skate at have like water that's like sprayed on concrete, and they freeze it, and they build it up into layers. This is not that. This is like sheets of basically plastic that they have that they like slot together. It's really cool.
Whoa,
yeah.
Weird.
It feels a little weird under your feet, but like it does the same thing. It's still cold. I imagine that they will do that for like effect, but you could have a rink at like hypothetically like 60 degrees or something. It can really work it. Yeah.
Is it indoors or outdoors?
It's indoors. So there's going to be themed skating days. I know we love to theme party here. There's going to be glow and disco nights. There's going to be specific times allotted for kids. Skating is going to be free to the public, but if you need to rent skates, that's $5. I have my own skates, obviously, so I don't need to cough up that money. But yeah.
Yeah, but also a $5 rental fee is way cheaper than at most skating rinks, including the one at the Sculpture Garden.
Yeah. So if you go to the one that's at the Sculpture Garden, which is one that I go to, it's outdoors, it's super nice. That one, for 2 back-to-back sessions, there's skating sessions begin on the hour and last 45 minutes, and there's a 15-minute break for like the Zamboni to go. Those 2 back-to-back sessions are $12 for adults and kids 13 and over. If you're 16 over or like a kid under 12, or you're a military service member, or if you're a student with a service ID, you have to pay $10, and you can buy a season pass for $250 if you want to like lock that in. And skate rentals cost like $6 in our first come first serve. So
Okay,
very
so
busy.
All
Yeah.
to say that this National Building Museum deal is significantly better, though you don't get the like ambiance of the Sculpture Garden.
No, you don't get the ambiance of the Sculpture Garden. You don't get to be outside, which is like part of the fun of skating is like if you're skating outside, it's similar to like you're skating on a frozen lake and it's nature and all that fun stuff. And I totally get that this is different from that. It's more like you're skating at an indoor rink. But you know what? Like the National Building Museum is really cool. I don't know if y'all have been. Highly recommend. And I'm really interested to see like how they pull this off. So when are we going to disco night? That's my question.
I'm there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that takes me back to my childhood, like those like kiddie themed birthday parties at the roller rink or ice skating rink. I think that this is going to be a really nice opportunity for people. And it's connected to the downtown holiday market, which is happening in that area this year. So very exciting.
One of the 2 competing markets, which I talked about at a Friday News Roundup eons ago. There's one in DuPont Circle and there's one downtown. So pick your poison.
So y'all know that Shakira song that goes, whenever, wherever.
Yes. A classic.
Well, for Shakira, the whenever is 2025, and the wherever is right here in the district.
Let's go.
Shakira is going to be performing at the World Pride Festival, the international LGBTQ celebration, taking place in DC in 2025, May 17th through June 8th. I am genuinely like very pumped for this. It's kind of a ways away, but still. It's going to be happening at the National Stadium. According to Capital Pride Alliance, the group who organizes most of DC's LGBTQ pride events and the lead organizer for World Pride 2025.
That's awesome. I'm very excited. What day is this happening on?
So the whole thing takes place over a couple of days, May 17th through June 8th. But Shakira is going to be performing Saturday, May 31st. So mark your calendars now, get your tickets now, get your outfits now. Whatever it is you got to do to prepare yourself, do that now.
So if this is a weekday, when all of CityCast DC calls out sick.
It's a Saturday. It's a Saturday.
It is? Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
I was going to
yeah.
say, if I have to prep for this, so help me, I will.
I love Shakira. I think that it really elevates the celebrations happening this year or next year that she's going to be there. I'm psyched.
And it's kind of historic because World Pride 2025 will also mark the 50th anniversary of the city's Pride celebrations concurrently with World Pride that's happening on May 17th through June 8th, 2025. So
that's
a little
sick.
bit of a historic precedent here.
Nice. I'm into it. Any reason to celebrate and party, I'm game.
Any reason to celebrate Shakira, I'm
Yes.
also game.
Yes.
And I do know there was like some controversy about whether or not only LGBTQ artists should be performing at Pride festivals. But in my opinion, like you do want to hear performers like Shakira at a Pride party. I remember DC used to have this very fun queer women's dance party called She-Rex, R.I.P. She-Rex, at Chief Ike's, R.I.P. Chief Ike's. And Shakira's She-Wolf was always a huge floor filler.
That's unsurprising.
Ooh,
Oh my
yeah, I can
God. That's
see that.
unsurprising. I love that.
I feel like there's a lot of really big pop icons that are like known for being loved by the queer community that are not necessarily
Actually queer.
themselves.
Yeah.
And if that's what people want to hear and that's what we like those are the artists people want to see, they should definitely be part of the celebrations. The whole like it's largely about allyship too, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, are you really going to turn down Madonna at a Pride party? I don't think so.
Seriously.
Exactly. You gotta. Well, I guess we will all be there on May 31st together.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, these hips don't lie.
Bridget's just got all of her Shakira puns ready to go.
I am like a huge Shakira fan. And like a year ago when she was like accused of tax evasion, I was like, Team Shakira.
Team Shakira. We're all going to be Team Shakira this year.
We're all
Come
Team
on.
Shakira. That anecdote was worth going over the time for. And I think we're done. Wow.
Well, Julia, Priyanka, thank you for being here and giving me space to honor my queen Shakira.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Anytime.
And that is all for today here on CityCast DC. If you enjoyed the show, text your friend who you cannot wait to tear up the dance floor with to Shakira. We'll be back tomorrow morning with even more news from around the city. Talk to you then.